Let's bring it back home from overseas. Tom, Belesis, Ashley was talking about the debt that needs to be cut. The private sector in the United States has been working so hard over the past 2 years to cut its own debt, to pull its own belt as tight as possible. Governments around the world have been doing exactly the opposite. Does this bring the message home to Washington that it's time for Washington to start tightening its belt? Tom?
Well, guys, I'll tell you one thing. I mean, looking at the Greece situation, I mean, it's chaos over there. I spoke to my family there today. I mean, and it's so unpredictable on what could happen. I mean, it's like...
Bring it back home, Tom. We want to know how it's going to affect things here. Is this going to be the wake-up call that Washington needs to cut its expenses?
Absolutely. I mean, it's truly known out there that bigger government, okay, is not the answer. I mean, right now, tomorrow is a very key day. If the German parliament doesn't vote for this bailout, now people are going to be focused on the domino effect with Portugal, Spain, Italy, all these surrounding areas, just like they said. I mean, the numbers out there are unquantifiable on the bank's exposure with sovereign debt. I mean, this could spill out everywhere, and you could see now banks come to a grinding halt because a lack of confidence will take place, and people won't want to do business with banks.
We don't want to compare apples with oranges, but this sure is reminiscent, you guys, of the day that Congress did not pass the TARP, and there was still yet another chance, but the markets fell 777 points. And it makes you wonder, is Germany going to be pushed, Matt McCall, into doing something like what Tom Belesis says, saying just, okay, we'll vote for this IMF package and the bailout and the Greece austerity program?
Yeah, I think the pressure's on them right now to do that, and they have to pass it. Something has to be done, and it's going to be forced because of what happened today in the stock market in a matter of 2 hours. The problem is the U.S. government made this same error back around that same time, Liz, when the market was falling. They made some knee-jerk reactions, and they ended up paying for it in the long run. I hope Germany doesn't do the same thing and make a knee-jerk reaction, and they actually take a step back. Let the free markets do what they have to do. If the market needs to fall a little bit more next week, let it fall. Think this through before making any big decision.
There were some panic decisions made today, Elizabeth McDonald. That's clear. We saw with the P&G trade at the very least, if not a lot of other trades. How much of this is just people taking money off the top, things will settle. Tomorrow we will end the trading week more calm and collected.
You know, that's the big debate on Wall Street. When I got off set for your show earlier, I made some phone calls, and there's real fears about what are called fat-finger trades happening down on Wall Street at a time when the SEC is very concerned that machines and not men are moving the markets. About 60% of the equity market is moved by high-frequency trading, where trades are made faster than the blink of an eye.
What you're seeing here is this time lapse that we put together for you, where the market sped to lower by about 995 points. Liz, you call it a fat finger trade, but in this day and age, with all the technology, huge sell programs kicked in,
That's
and that
right.
triggered a bunch of other issues, and so it brings us all to the question of just exactly what happens next.
Liz, these trades, Liz, can be made 1,000 times faster than the blink of an eye. So that's what the SEC has been struggling with. You see the movement in Procter & Gamble. You also saw the swing down in 3M, about a 300 between the two of them. They represent about 300 points in the downdraft in the Dow. We saw this in spectacular fashion over in Tokyo in 2005. JCOM went south fast, and market officials had to resign over that issue. Morgan Stanley made a fat finger trade error in the fall of 2004. They went to put a $10 million order through. They put a $10 billion order through. Fat finger trades are so dangerous at a time when the markets are dominated by machines and not men.
So Adam Lashinsky, will today turn out to be a blip that is unrepresentative of the trends of the market?
David, did you say will today
turn out to be a blip? Will today just turn out to be an anomaly?
I think it will be, because I think generally two things. The global economy is improving, number one. Number two, the Europeans eventually will act in self-interest the way we eventually acted in self-interest. I completely disagree with what Matt said earlier. You don't have to like what our Congress did, but what they did pulled us back from the brink. Now, it's going to be more difficult for the Europeans to act, because we're talking about the German parliament acting on behalf of a rescue of the Greek government. Very problematic compared to our Congress acting on behalf of our economic system. But when they realize how badly it's going to hit them, they'll act because they can.
Nancy Skinner, how low does the market go maybe tomorrow, or do we see a bounce back here?
I think we will, Liz, because this is a rational depression that's going on here today. A number of thoughts. I watched your great coverage, your roller coaster coverage of this thing today. You did a good job. One of your guests, though, said our crisis was fueled by, it was a debt-fueled crisis, and that's not the case. What we see in Greece truly is a debt-fueled crisis. We didn't have that, nor do we have that kind of exposure, but because look at this. If anything, there's going to be a flight to safety back to the United States. We have solid earnings in a lot of categories, manufacturing included, low inflation reports, high productivity. We are not Greece.
But Nancy,
and so I think it's limited.
Nancy, we're not Greece, but the problem is the reason the market fell so big today is the fact that people started thinking, what if we become Greece? So this is a debt issue. I completely disagree with you. We keep spending more and not bringing in, so this could be the next Greece.
All right, but hold on. Let me just throw some numbers out here because what happened today was extremely significant. Not only did we have an intraday low in terms of trading on the Dow, but Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, the past 3 days, we have lost 633 points. That's about a 6% decline. Elizabeth McDonald, is this the correction we've been looking for?
You know, listen, I tell you something. We had a confluence of events today, and is it this the correction that people have feared in the markets? I'm not so sure, because we had all sorts of different things that traders had not been talking about. In other words, Freddie Mac getting more bailout money. We had, possible rioting that you guys covered in the 2 o'clock hour that was contained by the Greek government. And then again, I got to bring it up again, algorithmic trading behind possibly the drop in P&G and 3M.
But Tom Belesis, we also got a number that is now completely buried under the sand of what became today, and that is the unemployment rolls for the week. And they looked better than expected. They shrunk. And so at this point, we're looking at this job number tomorrow. We got a better one, finally, job creation 2 months ago. So what do you expect here? And if it's a decent number, could we see a good rebound?
You know, I believe we're very oversold now, and I believe anything that happens here with overseas is going to be looked upon as a great buying opportunity. And I've been saying that, for the last few weeks. But, at the end of the day, let's lay it how it is. The Greek government lied to the people. They hid the debt.
Surprise,
they should have
surprise.
never
Shock.
been in the EU. Right. They never should have been in there. And now they hid their they hid their debt with military spending, and now it's all coming out, and people are rioting there, and it's causing chaos all around the world, including our markets here.
Well, you brought up a good point, Tom.
Tom Belesis, you, of course, of Greek descent. There's a huge amount of disdain for Greece on behalf of countries like Germany, who were very austere over the past couple of years. They cleaned up their balance sheets, and everybody tightened their belts. And now the big question is tomorrow, do they vote for this austerity plan?
You know what? Everyone is upset in Germany because, 30% of the funds going to Greece is coming from Germany. And people don't want to go more in debt for a country that lied to get into the club, so to speak. They don't want to do it. And tomorrow is a very big day because on the 19th of May, there's a big payment due for their debt. And if they don't have it, there's going to be more chaos. And people are afraid because there's about $200 billion between the IMF and the EU to go out there to help these countries. And you know what? There's $1.5 trillion in exposure here. So, I mean, it could cause catastrophe if they don't get it under control. I believe their misfortune will end up being our opportunity here in the United States.
All right, well,
That's what I believe.
let's talk about the United States. Matt, what happens if, in fact, the job numbers tomorrow are terrible?
Belesis, you look at a name like Ford, if we can get the chart up, ticker symbol F. Ford fell today about 4 1/3%. I can't tell you how many people are saying coulda, woulda, shoulda gotten in earlier on Ford. This is a U.S. car company that has actually made some dramatic changes over the past year and a half and really come back fighting. How, Tom, do you look at quality names that have done well but now are at a discount starting tomorrow?
I mean, it's going to be the same thing it was 2 years ago. People are going to look back, and 8 months from now, the Dow could be at 12,000. Look back at 10,005. I should have been in there buying with all this distress out there.